The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Olayemi Cardoso, says that the Apex Bank will be asking deposit money banks to increase their capital base in order to service the $1 trillion economy projected by President Bola Tinubu. Cardoso made this statement at the 58th annual dinner of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. The administration has set a goal of achieving a gross domestic product of $1 trillion over the next 7 years. Cardoso also noted that the fluctuating exchange rate was hampering business growth and promised to be transparent and fair to all as the bank performs its function. He also blamed the recent negative perception of the Apex Bank on corporate governance failure, diminished independence and deviation from the core mandate, inefficient forex rules, and venture into development financing. Now, joining us on the news is Vincent Oshoma, Head, Capital Market Interstate Securities Limited. Vincent, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Good evening.
Good evening to you too. Now, as sensibly laudable as the $1 trillion economy plan is the financial resource there for Nigeria's deposit money banks to increase their capital base?
It depends. The issue of the capital base is one that has been talked about by many analysts and different market stakeholders. Because when you look at this current situation, when the current minimum capital base of 25 billion, when that target was set around 2004, you know that the dollar was around exchanging for about 180, 100, less than 200 naira to a dollar. Now, when you have almost 1,000 naira to a dollar, I think they need to increase the capital base because the devaluation has eroded the value of the capital base of the banks. So when you want to compete favorably with others in the African with other countries, then you need to increase the capital base. So it's not something that's quite surprising. Outside the fact that we are looking at being able to cope with the 1 trillion targets, the fact that there have been devaluation of the currency, I think the cause for that capitalization.
Yes, I'm talking about the devaluation of the currency. Now, we know that banks have already been raising funds to increase their capital base and seeking approval from shareholders for fundraising. So is hitting a $1 trillion target not going to be too much of a financial pressure on these banks, looking at the value of the legal tender?
Yeah, the 1 trillion target, remember the 1 trillion target is not the goal of the central bank, it's the goal of the president. So trying to improve the position of the bank, because when you look at the current situation of the bank, Nigeria less than 500 billion. So when you're talking about more than doubling your economy, so I think you have to improve the position of the bank. So I think the CBN government is looking at preventive measures to look at growing the bank to be able to take care of the size of the economy when they were actually able to achieve that 1 trillion, and also putting the bank in position, because if you want to achieve a $1 trillion dollar economy, the banking system, the financial system plays a key role. So I think having the banks to increase their size and also to increase their capital base, their position to put them in a key role, to be able to play that key role in growing that 1 trillion economy, I think it's not out of place.
Okay, now the proposed time range is 7 years. Now, what specific economic targets have been set to achieve this particular plan, and how feasible do you think this will be achieved within 7 years, looking at that $1 trillion economy?
Yeah, the $1 trillion economy, because one thing is that the president just mentioned it. We have not really seen it in terms of a comprehensive plan in the areas where we see develop, the target areas for us to achieve that $1 trillion economy. It has not really been, it's just being talked about. The same thing with the CBN recapitalization. He just mentioned the fact that that will be one of the plans, because that's one of the things that we're achieving that dinner was the fact they obey some of his plans. So the only plan is to make the banks increase their capital. So the minimum capital have not been set, and also the time frame for the banks to achieve that have not been set. So I think we have to look forward to what will be released by those at the fiscal side of the economy, what in terms of what are the areas or they are going to be focusing on. in terms of achieving that plan. Because achieving a 1 trillion economy is not just a statement, and it's not something that just happens with wishing. It's something that you have to set key plans, look at the economy, what are the areas of comparative advantages, what are the areas of growth, quick growth, because we're talking about 7 years, what are areas we have to be able to achieve that. So that needs to be released for us to know how feasible it is. But if you look at it on a general scale, because we are talking about increasing the economy by more than double the economy, it's something that may look far out because it might be challenging. But I think releasing the framework and releasing the plan, I think will help us in analyzing it properly to know how feasible it is.
Okay, Vincent, there are also talks about mergers and acquisitions. Do you think at this time that should also surface, most especially for those who may not have a requisite or a robust capital base to be at par with what has been expected? So do you think that should also come into play to give a bit of solid financial base for these financial institutions?
Yeah, definitely that is a possibility, because when you are talking about increasing the capital base, because there are some banks that, depending on the capital base that the CBN is going to, minimum capital base is going to set. So there are some banks that are quite, in terms of their capital base, they are about $1 trillion. Their shareholders fund is about, and it's already about $1 trillion. So a lot of banks are already about $1 trillion. So I think those ones will not be that affected. But when those ones start looking at increasing their capital base, may also affect the small players, the tier 2 or tier 3 banks in the system. So that may create opportunities for mergers and people trying to look at how they can work to see increase in the market. The bigger ones going bigger. The smaller ones may have the challenges being able to play favorably in the market. That may create opportunities for measures to take advantage of synergies that those measures will create in the system.
Okay, so Vincent, there are also other challenges that has to do with, of course, you've talked about the value of the Naira. There are also issues around forex scarcity, the poor GDP growth, and all whatnot. Are there other impediments you think that we might need to be cautious of if we are hoping to attain that particular plan?
Yeah, with respect to the $1 trillion economy, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of things that need to be, like you mentioned, the low GDP growth that we have been having for some time, trying to grow in about average GDP growth has been around 3%. And the fact that our also growth rates around 3%, that has been one of the reasons why the economy has quite been challenged. But the president plan to look at targets 6%, and even if we want to achieve $1 trillion economy, it may be more than, we may be looking at double-digit GDP growth. So the major thing is looking at, because Nigeria, we have a lot of comparative advantage. One area that I think we need to focus on is how we can engage our youth population. The fact that we are currently seeing move by the current Minister of ICT Digital Economy, that's a good thing, because when you look at India is currently the 5th largest economy in the world. And one of the things that they have taken advantage of is the fact that their size and also their youth population, which you also have going for us if we take advantage of those things. Also, the fact that the agricultural sector, which has is supposed to play a key role in terms of GDP growth, we need to also develop the value chain in that area, as well as the oil sector. Yes, there have been some improvement. You know, there was a time we are producing about 2 billion barrels per day. We need a lot of development in the oil sector in terms of our production capacity and also our refining capacity and other things in the industry that we need to develop. So, and also our export. There are a lot of things that we can export from this country, but because we have not actually developed the value chain in terms of improving our production and also improving our raw materials, not just exporting raw materials, but refining them. I think those are a lot of areas of opportunities trying to improve our production. Then a major part that will play a key role in this whole thing, still thinking about growth, is our power sector. When you have still hovering around 5,000 megawatts, that is not something that you can't achieve much still around, even if we have 10,000 megawatts. So I think the power sector is a key area the government needs to look at if we are going to achieve a $1 trillion economy.
Okay, Vincent Oshoma, Head Capital Markets, Interstate Securities Limited, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.